War with North Korea essentially is war with China. Welcome to Watching the Horizon. I'm Jake. Fire and fury is the new shock and awe. You know, one thing about Donald Trump is that he talks a big game, but he doesn't really make threats that he's not prepared to back up. And I think that's the part that kind of scares me the most about his most recent statement towards North Korea. Last time he kind of did this, we bombed, the Syrian base, just like he said he would. And I feel like a statement like this is not, by any stretch of the imagination, empty. And of course, North Korea immediately turns around after this statement and starts, making more threats, totally just calling him out, calling his bluff. So what's going on? Is war with North Korea imminent? I don't know. But here's kind of the big play. War with North Korea essentially is war with China. Yes, China is allies with North Korea, but why China doesn't just go in and just take North Korea away confuses me a little bit, but I kind of feel like the only reason they don't do it is because we don't allow it. And so because we won't allow it, China won't allow us to go in, so there ends up being sort of this vacuum of power where you get, Kim Jong-un room to thrive. And look, here's the deal. The family are monsters. The number of human rights violations, the atrocities that they do there on a daily basis, and we kind of don't care. It's like these things. Syria does poison gas, and we're all up in his business. But North Korea is over there, breaking all sorts of rules, all sorts of war crimes, all sorts of he's pretty bad. Like, seriously, I have a feeling that when the dust settles and we really get a chance to find out all of the atrocities done by that family, I have a feeling that he's going to be right up there with the greats, Mao, Hitler, all the good ones. I think he's truly evil, and he's exactly what you get to unchecked power. And that's kind of what he is. He's unchecked. He's like a kid with an entire country enslaved to him, and he's bored, and he decides he wants to make some nukes, make some missiles, and he wants to make a racket, and he thinks he's going to be able to get respect this way. Well, there's different kinds of respect. You certainly got our attention, that's for sure. But why is it now? Why is this happening now? Why didn't this happen 5 years ago, and why isn't this happening 5 years from now? Like, what's going on right now that is stirring the pot? Well, if you watch the media, they would have you believe that he is an aggressor. And to an extent he is, but what kind of a threat is he really to the United States, to our allies? Well, some, but here's the thing. This is just, personal theory here. This is how I see it. I'm making the call here. This instance, this set of circumstances, I think, actually has very little to do with North Korea and a lot to do with the South China Sea. China has been aggressively making territorial claims over that entire area. And they think it's theirs. They want it. And they're going through the trouble of creating land in the middle of the ocean just so that they can claim some sort of loophole in, international law that it's their islands, and so they get, a certain amount of ocean around that. But clearly they're invading space that belongs to, Japan for starters, as well as, everybody else in that area. They want it, and they want it bad. And I think that if something goes down with North Korea, I think that a World War III is immediately, like, there's no scenario where we have an exchange with North Korea where this doesn't turn into an international conflict. Blood will flow on more than just North Korea's side. I think that it's going to be a big deal. And then it's going to end up being a war in South China Sea and in the Pacific. I think that's what it's going to come down to. And North Korea is sort of just going to be the match that lights this whole thing up. And here we've got a circumstance where our president is making what I believe to not be idle threats. I think he's, like I said earlier, more than willing and capable to back himself up with action. I know that there are some pretty smart people that advise him, people who understand the bigger picture, the writing on the wall, real military experts, geniuses, and they've worked out the scenarios. They know what this is all about. They know the different ways that this can play out and land. There's no illusions there, and I think the war machine has already begun to heat up. The fires have already been lit, and I believe that war is imminent. Is the first shot going to be by us at North Korea? Is it going to be by them at us? Is it going to be from China stepping in to, quote, defend their ally? I don't know. Of course not. I mean, but I think that the relationship that Russia and China share militarily, that they have shared, especially over the last 10, 15 years, especially since Putin's been to power, that's not by accident. They knew this was coming. Pretty sure that to some extent this whole conflict is by design, and it's quite possible that they were waiting for a president just like Trump in order to kick this thing off. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not saying anybody's, colluding. I'm not saying the president is in on this, but, there's a lot of money to be made when it comes to war. Our economy, depending on who you talk to, isn't great. It's being propped up artificially right now through the stock market, although not very well, and just through the sheer volume of dollars that has been printed. And what's one of the best ways to pull a country out of any kind of slump or recession? Well, a war, of course. So here we are. We're in a situation where we haven't had a good overseas war in a while. Nothing that we can really sink our teeth into and keep the public and the masses occupied, and keep the media, frothing at the mouth for more so that they can, focus our attention on things that may or may not matter in the long term. But just like a good magician, it's all about misdirection. They, in one hand, are like, hey, look over here. See this? See the conflict that we're doing? This is what's happening. This is important. See how evil Kim Jong-un is, and he's a threat to American culture. What's the other hand doing? What's going on here? I feel like the media we were just talking about this the other day. The media has been all over, this collusion between, Russia and Trump and fake news and all this stuff. But it's like now all of a sudden they're just hot to totally get in bed with just, oh, look what North Korea is doing. Did anybody read the article about how Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac totally failed their test and would need $100 billion bailout in the event of any kind of financial crisis? They failed the test. Miserably, might I add. What's another $100 billion among friends? I mean, come on. We've already bailed out everybody else. Why not them too? Just throw it on our tab. We can afford it. Why not? It's just some arbitrary number that we're never going to be able to pay back anyway. How long can we keep this boat afloat? But we keep punching holes in it. And it's just a matter of time before it all comes crashing down. But we can delay it a little bit longer. We can make a little bit more money if only we can go to war. Like not a pansy war, not any sort of these little skirmishes like we've been trying to pick with Syria. I mean, we've been trying to pick a fight with them for a long time, but it just didn't really take hold. But this North Korea thing, there could be something there. We could really get something going on. I mean, China has already sent a fighter jet over to us and act very unsafely and caused our plane to have to take evasive action so that they don't crash into the Chinese jet. Wouldn't that just be swell? Let's go ahead and crash one of our military jets, mid-air collision with a Chinese fighter jet. He said, she said. It's us, our word against their word. No, it's not like anybody was there. It's not like anybody actually has any legit equipment that they can be like, oh no, actually, we caught it all on film. That's not how that works. It's just a spark. It's like there's somebody over there with flint and steel, and they're trying furiously to get something to light, and it's just a matter of time. Well, I believe the time is now. It is so very close. How's your food storage? Do you have any water saved up? Just saying, if something happens, we go to war. This isn't Iraq, okay? This isn't Desert Storm. I mean, Saddam Hussein was not a great guy, sure, but he didn't really have any kind of ability to reach out and attack us here at home. Like, that was a very safe war as far as the homeland is concerned. Technically, North Korea is still fairly safe. Honestly, now, I don't live on the coast, so it's probably not entirely appropriate for me to make this comment, but it's YouTube. Shut up. I'm not really worried about North Korea firing a nuke and hitting the United States. I don't see it happening. I don't think it's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying that they don't shoot a missile. at somebody, somewhere, and our little THAAD defense system, anti-missile system, is going to go off, and you know what? It's going to be spectacular. It's going to be awesome. It's going to work flawlessly, and it's going to piss off the Chinese. We have no idea publicly really where that missile may or may not have been headed. Countries have gone to war for far less than that, but we're going to call that a first strike. And not cool, by the way, and we're going to retaliate. And we're going to retaliate in a way that only America knows how to do. But China doesn't want us in North Korea. Too close. Too close for comfort for them. China can touch us. China does have the ability to bring the war to the homeland. That I worry about. And China's in bed with the Russians, and, honestly, I think that this whole Korea thing could spark into an international conflict, and now all of a sudden, we could very well have war on our doorstep. It could be brought to us. Closer than it's been in a really long time. So that's what's got me worried. How's your food storage? How many months do you have? If something should happen to the water, maybe it's been sabotaged by terrorists or extremists, pick your side. How long would you last? Could you do it? Do you have a method to treat the water, a treatment system? Are you just going to rely on the local Costco to go buy your bottled water? What's your plan? Anyway, just wanted to take a moment. Make it real. Could happen. Then again, maybe nothing happens. Just a bunch of saber rattling. Just a bunch of people with measuring sticks. Designed to keep you distracted. But from what? Keep your eyes open.